Now we turn to Ahmad, who affectionately referred to the tablet revealed in his honor as the tablet of the Nightingale of Paradise, never imagining that it would become known as the tablet of Ahmad throughout the world in years to come. Although it was revealed for the benefit of all humanity, Ahmad was indeed its honored recipient. He spent several years in Baghdad, living near the house of Baha'u'llah. After Baha'u'llah's departure from Baghdad, he sent Ahmad the tablet from Adrianople and instructed him to travel throughout Persia, sharing the glad tidings of Baha'u'llah's declaration and informing them of his station. When he was asked by believers to tell them about the events during the years he spent near Baha'u'llah, he said the events were numerous and exciting, mostly joyous, but some were sad. Then his eyes welled up with tears, and he said, "One day, as we were walking behind Baha'u'llah, an officer came to him and said, 'One of your followers has been murdered, and his body was thrown by the river.' The ancient beauty told the officer, 'He was not murdered, but through 70,000 veils of light to an extent smaller than the needle's eye, we showed him the glory of God, and he could no longer bear the burden of this life, and he ended his own life. He was not murdered.'" This believer, to whom Baha'u'llah gave the title Dabi, or sacrifice, was no less a person than the erudite calligrapher Sayyid Ismaili Zavari, the nobleman who converted Nabil, the writer of the Dawnbreakers. Let us turn to the words of Nabil to understand what Ismail experienced and how the kingdom of glory appeared to him. Ismail was a devoted teacher who embraced the Bahá'í Faith after meeting the Bab in Isfahan, and more than a decade later, attained the presence of Baha'u'llah in Baghdad. At Baha'u'llah's instruction, he transcribed the mighty book of the Bab, the self-subsisting Lord of all names, in his beautiful handwriting. Around this time, Nabil, having returned from a teaching assignment in Iran, was advised by Baha'u'llah to assist Ismail in proofreading the new transcription. Nabil recounts, "It took us 18 days to do it, and I knew that every night after midnight, Ismail would sweep the approaches to Baha'u'llah's house, using his green turban, and gather the dust in his cloak and release it in the Tigris River. He did not wish anything unclean to touch the holy dust where Baha'u'llah had walked." One day, Nabil asked Ismail to share his experience. Though initially hesitant, Ismail was moved by the anxious look on Nabil's face and could no longer withhold his story from his spiritual son. His eyes filled with tears. He began to recount his experience. "One day, I was in the presence of Baha'u'llah as a guest of a believer. Baha'u'llah put fruit and cookies in a plate and handed it to me, and I begged him for spiritual sustenance, and he said, 'It has already been given to you.' From then on, different doors of understanding were opened to me, and I entered a different world. One evening, among other believers, I was in his presence, as usual, and I was in my own wonderment. He asked for a candle to peruse a paper, and suddenly it occurred to me, is it possible that the visage, the sign of which the chosen ones and messengers of God have longed for, could be unveiled in a human temple? Baha'u'llah addressed me and said, 'Ismail, look.' What I saw when I gazed upon his blessed face, I cannot describe. It seemed like 100,000 sunlit and shimmering seas billowing upon that face, and I don't recall what happened next. Then Ishmael told Nabil, "Don't ever ask for this, and be grateful for what he has given you. Let us pray for each other's happy ending." Nabil writes that Ishmael continued his sweeping, and then he came to such a state of agony that he could not eat any longer. For 40 days he fasted, and then, on that final day before dawn, he swept the approaches to Baha'u'llah's house for the last time. To check the crushing force of his love, he walked outside the city gate, went by the river, and laid facing toward Baha'u'llah's house, and cut his throat with a razor. He saw a glimpse of the glory through 70,000 veils of light, to an extent smaller than the needle's eye, and was dazzled by it. This was that inner light which was concealed within the holy being of Baha'u'llah.